Hello, my friends. This is Lynda Lippin, and welcome to the Pilates Goddess podcast. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back yet again to the Pilates Goddess podcast. This is your host, Lynda Lippin, and I am super excited to be talking to you today. You may have guessed from listening to the podcast that I have some issues of my own with chronic pain and chronic inflammation. And frankly, I did as a kid as well. And that's what drew me to Pilates when I was an undergraduate at Purchase College, then known as SUNY Purchase, back in the late 80s. And Pilates was the first kind of exercise that really, really made me feel better. Just didn't make me stronger or look better or toned or all of those things, but actually made me feel better. Less neck pain, less joint pain, less back pain, just everything. And when I started teaching Pilates, it was partly because I wanted to share that kind of experience with others. So if you're listening to this, I'm going to assume that you are either a Pilates teacher who works with people with chronic pain, or that you are somebody with chronic pain who is either currently doing Pilates or considering it. Now, lately, I have been spending a little bit of time on the Pilates board on Reddit. And Reddit hasn't always been one of my favorite sites because it is so crazy and unmoderated in there in so many ways. But the Pilates area is actually very well moderated and taken care of. And it's full of very interesting people from both the client angle and the teacher angle. And I really enjoy interacting with folks in that group. But lately, I've been reading some stories and some comments that people are leaving that really kind of upset me and disturbed me quite a bit. One recent one was from a woman who has been taking some reformer classes, and she experiences back pain. And interestingly enough, she went outside of her regular studio and teacher and did some work that actually helped her back feel better. Even found some free YouTube videos for dealing with the back pain and had her back feeling better. But when she addressed the issue of pain after class with her instructor told her that sometimes people just have to work through pain, and that's part of the process. Now, here's the deal. If you have chronic pain, there's a good chance that when you're moving and when you're exercising, you're working through a little bit of that quote unquote normal pain. But if you're somebody who is only experiencing more acute back pain or neck pain or any other pain or symptoms after your exercise class, that's not okay. All right? Because we can all go move around and hurt ourselves on our own without paying anybody else to do that for us. But I do feel like once we've entered into a money and contractual relationship with a trained professional or a studio, which is a group of trained professionals, that we should get better answers than some people just have pain. Because that's true, but we kind of all know that, right? We knew that already, and so many people are coming into a studio to try to help themselves and help themselves live with and work with some kind of chronic pain situation. And what they don't need is to have that pain get worse. Now, I'm not talking about muscle soreness. I'm not talking about any of that. I am talking about having an exacerbation of somebody's chronic pain symptoms right after their workout. Sometimes even a day or two later. Because people are not coming in and paying to work out, I assume, to then be in discomfort and be, not comfortable moving for a few days after, unless they've gone for some, highly intense strengthening workout that makes them very, very sore. And not that Pilates can't do that, but Pilates, because it can, but muscle soreness from exercise is a very different animal from um, exacerbated, worsened back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain from exercise. Now, I'm going to give you my own example, which I've given on the podcast before. So, those of you who listen regularly, sorry, you can fast forward or just listen to it again. I have had chronic pain my entire life. I had severe endometriosis from the time I was probably 12 or 13. Up until I had a total abdominal hysterectomy when I was 30. And at this point, I have what my orthopedic surgeon says is a significant amount of arthritis in my knees. I know I have arthritis in my hips. I know I have degenerative arthritis in my cervical spine. So there are exercises that I just don't do. Okay. Between my sacroiliac instability and the neck thing, I don't do short spine stretch. I don't do rolling exercises. I don't do inversions that take my legs over my head and put tons of pressure into my neck and shoulders, for example. Okay, there are certain movements that I know might feel really good while I'm doing them, but will cause me pain later on. So I don't do them. And I'm a much happier camper. And if I happen to go out and take class with another teacher or in another group, I don't necessarily ask the whole group to be modified, but I do modify those particular exercises myself. So if people are doing rolling, I have a version of something that I do instead of rolling like a ball. Um, whatever the exercise is, if it's something that I know is going to hurt me or make me be in more pain later, I do something else during that time. Now, I'm a trained professional, so I know what the other things are that I can do. And, the important thing for any client, for, you as a client, is that you need to understand what it is that you can and can't do. You need to understand what it is that makes your pain worse and then avoid those things. And once again, I'm not talking about things just being hard or just having muscle soreness. Okay. Muscle soreness from exercise is a normal thing. It will happen. There will be Pilates classes where the back of your arm, the back of your shoulder blades might get a little sore. You might have a little muscle soreness in your butt. You might have some muscle soreness in your abdominals. And there's definitely work that's going to get you in the hamstrings, get you in the legs and all of those great areas. And if you work out intensely and intently, you may very well get sore from Pilates, which is okay. Give yourself a day or two to feel better. But if you continue working in a way that exacerbates what you know is your chronic pain, and those chronic areas, they're not going to get better. They're just going to continue to get worse and continue to hurt more. And since most of my clients come into the work, into the Pilates studio, into my online studio, into my Facebook groups, because they want to feel better, not worse, better, I encourage them to stay away from the movements that really exacerbate their pain. Unfortunately, sometimes you don't realize that you're in one of those movements until after, but then we should take the knowledge and use that knowledge to not make that mistake again. And if I were a client and I had a Pilates teacher or any exercise teacher try to tell me that it was okay to work through joint pain or work through back pain or work through those things, especially if they became more acute due to a particular movement or exercise in a class, I would not go back. I would not go back, because that is not something that anyone should be paying for. So here's what I really recommend for all of you who maybe have had this experience or wish to simply avoid the experience, okay, is number one, do a little bit of research. Don't just go for the studio that's closest to your apartment. Don't just go for the place that seems the cheapest or the easiest. As we know, the cheapest and the easiest is often not the best. So do some research and look at the negative Yelp reviews, look at the positive Yelp reviews. Maybe if you know other people in your neighborhood who might be doing Pilates or going to studios, ask them. Find out who the better teachers are and where the better studios are. Once you've done that, make an appointment with a teacher who has the most experience, okay? And possibly the teacher whose name that you know, whose name you've heard. And then talk to that teacher. And this might be a more expensive class or session than you're used to, but if you do one or two of them, you'll have a better idea of how you need to modify things for your own body and for your own needs. I've done plenty of these sessions actually personally, where I'll see somebody one or two times because they can't necessarily afford to see me on a regular basis. But I will say to them, this is what you have going on. These are the movements that you really need to avoid so that you don't put yourself into more pain. These are the movements that you need to do more of, even if they're not totally fun and they're really hard, because they're going to strengthen you in the areas that you need to be stronger in. And these are the things that you probably never need to do because these movements intrinsically, given what you have going on in your body, might be a problem or will be a problem. Now, I'm not a huge naysayer of movement and exercise. I do believe that movement heals. I do believe that exercise is good for people, but I do not believe that all movements and all exercises are good for all people. Okay, I've been teaching Pilates for a really long time, like 34 years. And I can tell you that while there are certain exercises that almost everybody can do and do safely and do effectively, and many of these are on my YouTube channel. By the way, if you just go to YouTube, I'll put a link in the show notes, search out Lynda Lippin Pilates, and there's a whole lot of short video workouts that are really safe and that break things down for chronic pain. But, find the people who really know what they're doing, get their input, and get notes from them. I'm happy to videotape people's sessions. I'm happy to send them, follow-up emails with the most salient points that came up in the session in terms of what felt great for them and what didn't. I'm also happy to Zoom with people and record those Zoom sessions so they have them moving forward. So once again, you kind of know what you need to be doing and what you don't need to be doing. Now, what was very interesting for me about my recent orthopedic appointment where I scheduled my meniscus repair surgery was the fact that I apparently have significant levels of arthritis in my knees. But because I do all this work on my own body, my knees don't really hurt that much. So I knew I had some arthritis. I mean, I'm 56, I've lived. Um, but I didn't realize the extent of the arthritis. And I partly didn't realize the extent of it because I don't feel it, because generally my knees don't hurt. So if people have arthritis pain, if people have other issues, know that it's not necessary that they're going to be that way all the time. Okay. And having a diagnosis like arthritis doesn't necessarily mean somebody's going to be in pain. So, we need to advocate for ourselves in the medical system, and we also need to advocate for ourselves in terms of fitness and Pilates and yoga and classes and personal training sessions. We need to be able to say, hey, I'm paying for this and this isn't feeling good. I'm paying for this and I'm in pain for 3 days after. I'm paying for this to help my back feel better because I heard Pilates would do that, but my back still hurts and hurts worse than it did before I started. Because none of those things should be happening. Okay? None of those things should be happening. Now, in addition to, doing exercise and other things, myself, and I'll talk to you a little bit about the other things right now. I do Reiki. I meditate. I do Pilates. I do a little strength training. I do some yoga. I take walks. I work with the Thai 4. I've got a magic circle. And I do those things. I also take a lot of anti-inflammatory supplements. And I have recently started drinking some anti-inflammatory supplements and some superfood supplements in my coffee in the morning. So you guys may remember Laird Hamilton, the surfer. Laird is working now in his own superfood company. So, Laird was playing around with coffee, seeing if he could get a little more bang for his buck out of his morning coffee and really get a little more kind of creaminess and yumminess into his coffee in a way that was healthy and wasn't gross. Okay. You may not know this, but a lot of the creamers that are out there are full of chemicals and oils. And if you ever look at the ingredient list, it is really scary. Okay. When I look at the ingredient list on my Laird Superfoods mocha creamer, it involves cocoa, it involves coconut oil, and it involves coconut sugar. All things that are good. And I just take that, I put it in my coffee cup, I throw in maybe half a cup of coffee with my collagen powder. I take my little cup whisk it up for about 15 seconds, throw the rest of the coffee in, and I've got myself this yummy, creamy, not too sweet, full of good fats, not full of chemicals and sugars, coffee drink to start my day. And it tastes good. And I really, really, really love it. And those of you who know me know that I'm a huge coffee drinker. And I generally drink it black or with a really good creamer. So if you are ready to feel more energized, focused, and supported, go on over to lairdsuperfood.com/goddess and add nourishing plant-based foods to fuel you from sunrise to sunset. Use our promo code goddess at checkout to save 15% off your purchase today. Now, guys, there's so much we can do to help ourselves and advocate ourselves with chronic pain. If you have started Pilates already and are feeling better with it, then keep on going with that. Find what works for you, because you may find that, the idea of yoga sounds really good to you, but then when you go to do it, you don't love it so much. You may find that the idea of weight training sounds really great to you, but then when you go to do it, maybe it bores you, maybe you're not thrilled, maybe you don't love it so much. And frankly, it's the things that you kind of, even if they're hard, that you kind of enjoy doing, that you will continue doing. If you've been doing Pilates mat and you kind of like it, but you would maybe like a little more resistance and assistance, then I really recommend you trying some Pilates equipment classes. If you still want to be working out at home, then find online classes or online trainers such as myself and my Strong Bones Pilates studio online, where we sometimes work with light weights. We work with the magic circle. We work with a foam roller. We work with bands and tubing and help you get stronger and mimic the Pilates equipment. You might also enjoy TRX training, which is suspension training, which is seriously some heavy duty straps and handles that you attach to a wall anchor. You can also attach it to a tree or a pole. That's, of course, solid and stable. And there are lots of exercises you can do to help strengthen your body, balance yourself out. It's hard. You have to stabilize yourself as you're working. It's very similar to Pilates, but it can be a lot of fun. You can travel with it and it's inexpensive. Okay. If you want something more Pilates oriented, I highly recommend the Type 4 device. As you guys know, I've discussed it before, but Joan Breitbart at the Physical Mind Institute has invented something awesome there where you just put the thing on around your shoulders. It just goes on your upper body. You wear it, and the straps are almost like a backpack. And attached to the straps are bungee cords. And so you have bungee cords for your arms, you have bungee cords for your legs, straps to put them in, and it does all of the things that Pilates equipment will do. It really does. You get a two-way stretch. You can close the kinetic chain. You can work resistance. You can work assistance, but it's a little bit easier to deal with than bands and tubing because you don't have to grab and hold and really grip the entire time that you're using it. I love it. And it's well under $100, and you can order it from Amazon. And there will be a link to the Type 4 also in the show notes. If you have chronic pain and really don't know what to do, I encourage you to reach out to me. You can email me, Lynda@lyndalippin.com, DM me on any social media. Come over to Facebook, join the free Strong Bones Pilates group or the Pilates Teacher Mastermind group. DM me there or leave a comment. And I am happy to talk to you about how you might be able to really help yourself and not hurt yourself exercising with any of the devices that I've talked about, or just on your own, on the mat. If you're not exercising at all now, even 10 or 15 minutes is going to make a huge difference. You may not think it will. You may be thinking, what's that going to do? But if it's something that you're not doing now, and you'd say if you take 15 minutes a day to exercise, just 15 minutes a day, right? And you just did it 5 days a week, you'd still be getting in over an hour of exercise in the course of your week that you weren't getting before. And in small enough doses that you may be able to work your way up and work your way through strengthening and mobility work a little more quickly, because you won't be as sore and won't have as much exacerbation of chronic pain after. This is also really important for folks who have fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome. Also, if you've got, any of the autoimmune disorders, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, working slow, working in a more gentle way, and working strength and mobility at the same time will help you. So be kind to yourself, start slowly. And if any exercise professional tells you that working through your pain as it's getting worse is okay and indicated, run. Don't walk, just run away and find somebody who can help you and not hurt you. So that's it for me. As always, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. So much. And if you love it, would you head on over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and a written review? I would really appreciate it. And it really helps the podcast go up in the rankings, which just helps me out tremendously. Thanks a lot. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening to the Pilates Goddess podcast. Music brought to you by Nerd Salad. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, especially if you liked it. And please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks.